have a special opportunity today to get some first-person insight about something that usually stays in the closet. People don't want to talk about it, and that's addiction to cannabis. Where's that fine line between partaking responsibly and realizing it's running our life? Remember, we can abuse anything: food, sugar, alcohol, coffee, shopping, gambling, sex, and marijuana is no different. Ingrid is visiting us today because she discovered that about herself and has stepped up in this very public way to share her experience. And we're just going to stick with your first name to maintain your privacy. Ingrid, I know that this was a tough decision for you to come on and be with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
When did you realize that there was an issue around cannabis?
I was working about 60 hours a week, and so I was really stressed. And I wasn't able to make it through the day without cannabis. And I was planning my whole day and my whole life around how I was going to get high. And at one point I was in a spiritual development and just realized, what am I doing? I'm not enjoying this anymore.
And so it actually was it was progressive, that you were doing it and then you realized eventually as it was unfolding that the bushes were parted and you went in and looked and said, this is no fun anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying smoking. I wasn't enjoying doing it socially. I was doing it mainly by myself. And I was using it medically, so I was justifying it through, I'm using this for medical reasons, I'm using this for medical reasons. But when it kept getting more and more and more, and I wasn't getting the result, I wasn't feeling better, I had to take a look at, what is this really doing for me?
And how much were you using?
I was using probably every 2 to 4 hours throughout the day, and then it became every 2 to 3 hours, and then it was about an hour later I didn't feel anything anymore, and I was looking at the clock, waiting for the time, trying to figure out when I could use again. And it became to the point where I didn't even like the taste of it anymore. And then I really had to take a look at myself and say, what is this doing for me? This isn't the real purpose of using medical marijuana, or recreational marijuana for that matter.
And so then when you made that decision, what'd you do?
I actually turned to Marijuana Anonymous. So I hadn't quit yet. I tried to start weaning down and using less, and I found the more I wanted to use less, the more I actually used. So I kind of was rebelling against myself. And in Marijuana Anonymous, I got to hear the stories of other people. And one day I just quit cold turkey, and I haven't used it all since.
And how were you led to Marijuana Anonymous?
I was led to Marijuana Anonymous through a friend of mine. She just said, you know, why don't you check out Marijuana Anonymous? And I thought, okay. And there was no meeting, so I went to a phone meeting.
Oh, yes.
And this woman reached out to me on the phone the night before the meeting and just shared her story, how she was trying to wean down. And after a week of going to meetings, she just quit. And her story was so inspirational to me that the next day I realized that I wanted to be clear-headed, and I wanted to make that decision right now, and that I didn't want to wait anymore. And so I quit that day, and was very grateful to have the support.
So you found the organization really the helpful jumping off point in order to stop.
Yeah, because a lot of people might say, well, cannabis isn't addicting. You know, it's not addicting. It's not physically addicting. But I actually had been on medical hash oil for a year, and getting off that, I had so many physical symptoms that it was a physical reaction. And so I was scared of the same thing happening from consuming flower, that I might, you know, have all these physical reactions and that my immune system might flare up. And I was really scared of not feeling well, because it's already hard to quit something you really love, and then not feeling well on top of it, it can be really daunting and scary. But I knew that I wanted to have a clear head, and I wanted to be more social, and marijuana had kind of made me kind of be more paranoid and isolated, and I realized I wanted to be back to my social butterfly. And so I just took the leap of faith and trusted that I could do it, and that people would still accept me even though I wasn't using marijuana. Because being a marijuana activist, being so ingrained in the marijuana community, there was a big fear that a lot of my friends wouldn't want to be around me if I didn't use marijuana. And I still support the medical benefits wholeheartedly, but not everybody would. I didn't think everyone would understand that if I wasn't consuming it anymore.
And we want to point out that you are and have been a marijuana activist, and you've actually worked in dispensaries, so you have been around the plant a lot. What are you finding about your circle of friends? Have you had to change them, or what's that look like?
Well, the ones that haven't accepted me, they're not my real friends, I've noticed.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lot of people actually really are really grateful and happy, and especially people that really know a lot about marijuana understand, and they understand that it does, you know, chemically do things to your brain. So when you do overuse it, it can be, you know, not a healthy thing for you. So I've actually had a lot of support from people in the marijuana community, and so I was actually really surprised to know that I can still be a part of the marijuana community in the way that I want to. I don't have to partake to be a part of it. So that's been really a blessing.
And where do you stand with the plant now?
I think marijuana is an amazing plant for medical use, and I think it's awesome for adult recreational use in moderation. And with, especially with the regulations, I think it needs to be safe. So no chemicals, no pesticides, making sure it's being flushed. Those are some concerns of mine overall in general, whether I'm using or not. And so I feel like as long as we've got good, clean plants, that it's a great, great blessing and gift. It just needs to be executed and delivered in the right manner.
And if someone is asking themselves right now, I'm wondering if I have a problem, what might you say, or a question you might ask them?
I would probably ask them, do you enjoy using marijuana? Are you using marijuana to get through your day? Do you mainly use marijuana by yourself and plan your whole day around getting high and how you're going to get high again? And when you run out, do you find yourself getting extremely anxious and worrying about how you're going to get more? Those are things I just noticed about myself. It was, you know, if I was going to run out of marijuana, it was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get it? I have to get it. I mean, I would cancel plans to go get marijuana or rearrange my whole day. And to me, if those are some things that you might want to take a look and say, you know, am I using this in a responsible way, or is it taking control of me?
Ingrid, thank you so much for sharing your experience and really able to offer this advice. So appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Becca.
Absolutely.